say, right, I'm going to drop it by another 5 ticks, and somebody comes in and sells 10. You get the basic idea. All I'm doing now is I'm pulling away my bid because somebody's selling 10. Somebody comes in and sells 10, and I pull away my bid. Somebody comes in and sells 10, and I say, right, okay, this guy's now taking the tipping point now, haven't he? So I'm not going to pull the price away at all. Not going to pull away the price at all. Why? Because I've now got 60 sellers out of 100 sellers that I know is the average number of sellers. I can absorb 40 contracts here. I can afford to absorb 40. Somebody sells 10 and there's nothing. Somebody sells 10 and there's nothing, right? So you get the basic idea, right? Somebody sells 10, nothing. Somebody sells 10, nothing. So now what's happened is I've now absorbed. So if I was to look at that on a price chart, the delta's done that effectively. And the price has done this. It's dropped by 5, dropped by 5, dropped by 5, and then the price is now doing that, right? So obviously when we reach this point, there's no more sellers left. So there's a very, very high probability that if I can predict this point, that as soon as I start pushing up the price a little bit, as soon as I start adding a little bit of price here, so let's say in the last two guys, instead of it being 0, I add 5 ticks to these trades here. Because of my bid offer spreads, I can add a few, I can pull away the offer, I can start stacking some bids into this trade at slightly higher prices. So obviously what happens is the price maybe does that, comes along sideways, and then all of a sudden we get this little buy side response. Well, this guy here is now underwater. This guy here's underwater. This guy here's underwater. This guy here's underwater. And this guy here is actually underwater because we've gone up 10 ticks. So every single one of these guys is now underwater. The only people that aren't underwater now are these last 3 guys here. So this is now, nobody's even bought this yet. Technically, nobody's bought it except me. And yet I've managed to get 7 out of 10 of them underwater by simply then taking this trade on for a little bit of upside, right? I've got 7 out of 10 of these guys losing money. In other words, with that tiny little upturn there, I'm in profit, correct? Now, obviously, if the value's in my favor as well, I might just keep this process going, and you can guarantee that this guy's going to buy it back, and this guy's going to buy it back, and this guy's going to buy it back kind of quickly as soon as this starts happening. And we'll see a big acceleration as they start buying it back, and the delta starts reversing back out again. But the delta's always lagging behind price now, isn't it? Delta's always following price behind that phase, and this market's going to keep moving higher. It's a beautiful thing, guys. It's a beautiful thing.